We lost 2 people. I'm checking to see if I hear it on YouTube. All right, I do. That works. Yesterday was 51. Today's 49. Oh, 50. Who knows? We might get to 51. Today I'm going to focus on the group project. Who took a chance to look at the syllabus yesterday? Anybody? Who didn't look at the syllabus yesterday? Why not? Laundry, work for other classes. You couldn't look at the syllabus while you were in another class. You're looking at something now. All right, cool. Yeah, so if you do look at the syllabus, you'll note that there's a group project. Who looked at the syllabus and noted that there was a group project? What percentage of the grade is the group project? I know. Yeah, it's 20. What percentage of the grade is the final exam? Which one's more important? Group project? Which one's easier? Probably the group project, right? I don't know. The final exam shouldn't be that hard either. As long as you pay attention, you participate through the class, and you are not really stupid. I suppose it's going to be hard no matter what if you're really stupid, even if you do pay attention and all that stuff. But I can't believe 152 we beat yesterday. Did you just come in too? I just came in. That's 53, I think. I'm not going to count again. That's pretty good though. Doing all right. It's still like 20 people missing, but I'm sure they have a good reason. And I'm sure they're all watching the video, but not yet. So the group project is kind of significant. I think the group project is the most important thing we do in the class. I know you all think that learning to use the CNC machines is the most important thing we do in the class, and that is probably the most fun thing we do in the class, except for watching me run around on 3 days a week. But the group project, it makes you think, and exercising our minds and thinking, I'm pretty sure, is the most important thing we do in college. That and learn how to make fake IDs. So that could be your product. So our group project, that one's not on? That's weird. Projectors. Projection. No, that just changes the lighting. I want the chalkboard on. But how come the other projector's not on? Room control. Right projector on. They're both on. I don't know which one's right. It's on. It's playing a black screen. Maybe it'll work. I don't know. If it doesn't turn on, use people can either get on the YouTube. Oh, here it comes. Or you could look at this screen. Because the screen doesn't have much to do with it. It's just, I accused one of you guys of being a little OCD yesterday. Well, maybe I'm a little OCD also. We probably all are. All right, so the group project. Group project is going to be about filling up this space. It's going to be creating a manufacturing company from scratch. So we've all heard of startup businesses, right? And so typically how do startup businesses start? What's the first thing that's required to start a startup business? Yeah. An idea, right? We have to have an idea. Yep. So I think you do have to have the idea before you have the money, but it's nice to have some money in your back pocket when you start thinking of ideas. But yeah, the idea is the critical thing. And we have decided, you don't get choice in this part of the decision. We have decided that we're going to start a manufacturing business, and we're going to start a manufacturing business for all those things we talked about on the first day of class. For the fact that manufacturing employs people, right? That manufacturing creates wealth that didn't exist before. And therefore, if we do manufacturing at a place, new wealth gets created at that place. It flows up through the local community there, and it benefits everybody, not just the people that work at the manufacturing facility. So we're, a friend of mine just sort of defined this really, really well. He called it being a noble entrepreneur. So it could be that we're just out to make a buck, right? We want to make some money. Who likes money? We know you do, right? Right? We all like money, right? But you can get money and be a good person at the same time. It turns out customers sometimes like that, and you get more customers. So we have decided that we're going to create a manufacturing business. By we, I mean you guys. So who said we need money? It was you, right? Yeah, so I will be the source of the money. I am the angel investor, the venture capitalist, the bank, whatever you want to think of me. I'm the source of the money, which is, it's fun for me to do in this venue because I don't have enough of it to do it in the real world, but I can do it with you guys because it's all fake money. I am the source of the money. You, in your group, need to convince me to give you the money to create your proposed business. And so to do this, what are the kind of things you're going to have to think about in convincing me? First off, how do you think you should convince me? What? So you're going to have to make a pitch. Anybody know what the definition of a pitch is? Who's ever watched Shark Tank? So you've all seen pitches then. A pitch is a presentation with the intent of getting a yes or no decision. So a pitch is a presentation with the intent of getting a yes or no decision. So you need to make a pitch. We could vote people off the island too, huh? So you're going to have to make a pitch to convince me that we should fund your business idea that's, again, a manufacturing business that makes something. Now, we could make widgets that we sell to consumers, and we could make a business that does business-to-business sales, right? A lot of what we talked about in the quality stuff yesterday was about doing those B2B sales. And that's because we're engineers and we like numbers. And when we're dealing with consumers, they're squishy and they have emotions and they're a little bit harder to deal with. So we're going to use the stuff that we talked about in quality yesterday, but we internally will be the people that generate the numbers that we have to meet. And it's a bad idea if you're actually going to start a business. We are going to make some assumptions that we can actually sell the thing that we've decided to sell. Okay? So if you're going to actually start a business, if you're going to actually spend real money on stuff like this, you should totally find out if people want to buy the thing before you start making it. Certainly before you start filling up a factory space with the stuff. So let me, we don't need the factory anymore. Everybody's got that idea, right? Okay. So I have decided for you that I am only accepting pitches for B to C type manufacturing. So I'm only accepting pitches for B to C type manufacturing, and that I will help you out with the customer research. So I will help you out in deciding how much will the customer pay for this product? How many sales can we expect at which kind of price points? So typically this is on the entrepreneur, right? Typically the entrepreneur has to do that. So it is kind of like that Shark Tank where you're getting a shark on the team now, right? So I guess I'm going to be an equity investor. I'm not going to be a debt investor. But I'm going to do this sort of customer consumer outreach for you. And I want you to do the business side of the figuring out the business. And by that, I mean the technical part, right? I want you to figure out what kind of machines you're going to need to make the part. So machine tools. And this is the kind of thing that engineers do, right? Engineers that work in a manufacturing business, they do things like figure out what kind of machines you're going to need to make the part. I'm going to want you to figure out what kind of space you need to run those machines, right? And so where do we get space? When we want to have a manufacturing company, where do we get space? A warehouse. Right. Maybe we go rent. So that space, we're going to rent it. We could buy it, or we could build it. But if we build it, we're going to have to either rent or buy the land that it sits on, right? So I'll actually let you come up with that now, and we'll talk as we get into the class about how you can find space. As we're doing this, and you're deciding what machine tools you want, you're going to have to figure out how much they cost. Otherwise, it would be pretty lame for you to ask me for money. We need money to buy these machines, but we don't know how much they cost, right? Don't call the manufacturer or the sales rep and ask for a quote, because then you're going to be in their system as a customer that might be purchasing. There are plenty of machine tool makers who have machine tool pricing available just on their website, right? And so we can look that up. And so we'll do that kind of stuff. But you're going to have to specify the machine tools, specify the space, figure out how you're going to pay for that space, how much it's going to cost. Now, in a manufacturing business, what do we need besides machine tools and space to put them? Yeah. So we need a product. We need a product. But I think there's some things that we need that are product, the product, every company needs it. Product ambivalent. Maybe that's the right word. That's what I wanted to say, but it just sounded weird. So what do we need? We need people, right? Because manufacturing is people making stuff that people want, right? So we need people. And so part of your job will be to figure out, and so this is stuff that engineers do in every day, right? This is the kind of things that you're going to do as an engineer. So we're building a business case, but engineers also need to be able to sell their ideas to the people that approve the funding. So we need machine tools, space, we need people. So we need to, in order to figure out machine tools, we're going to have to understand the process. Right? So we're going to have to understand the process to decide which machine tools to get. So yeah, that's a thing. What else are we going to need besides people, space, and machine tools? Yes. Say again? Oh, so we're going to need raw materials. And the raw materials we pick are going to depend on the product we pick and possibly the machine tools we picked. Yeah.
We're going to need like utilities.
We're going to need power. What else are we going to need?
Well, we're going to need to plug into the supply chain, some way to get our product out into the market.
So we're going to need marketing and sales. Now, as your shark over here, I'm going to take that part of it. So I'm going to gray it out. But we do need that. That's a true thing, true statement. What else do we need? We have machine tools. Those determine or help determine the process. We need a space to put them. We need the people to do it. We need sales and marketing. We need raw materials. We need power to power the machine tools. What else do we need? Yeah.
We need some way of delivering our product.
So we need some way to do shipping and receiving, or shipping. But really, when we're shipping it to our customers, the part of that the engineers get really involved with is packaging, right? Years ago, I had a friend who taught in the School of Business here, and so you guys know what Lotus 123 is? Anybody, do you know what Excel is? Microsoft Excel? So Lotus 123 was Microsoft Excel before there was Microsoft Excel. So it was a spreadsheet program. Lotus 123 was a company that existed. My friend was head of manufacturing at a business, or not head, but he ran a manufacturing facility. So he was like the plant manager at a company that made control systems for nuclear power plants. They don't make many of those every year, right? He left that job to go become the head of manufacturing for Lotus 123. Wait a minute, it's a software company. How does a software company have a head of manufacturing? It was back in the early days in software. The way it was distributed was in boxes of floppy disks. So they had a head of manufacturing because they had to copy the software out of the floppy disk, put them in boxes, and ship them out. And so he would have been doing a lot of packaging stuff. It's actually fun. He was the chief information officer at Lotus when they were acquired by IBM. It's kind of funny story there. So the Lotus guys, they were software guys, like shorts, t-shirt kind of software guys. And the IBM guys, anybody know what the nickname for IBM was back in the day? They called them Big Blue. And everybody wore a suit, a white shirt, blue jacket, tie. Everybody in the whole company, they all wore these blue suits. It wasn't like a uniform. It was a uniform. And so all these Lotus guys, he said, yeah, I had a suit. I wore it to a wedding in 1978. Right? So they all went out, bought blue suits to go down to IBM. All the IBM guys, they go up to the top floor conference room thing for this meeting, and they get in there, and all the IBM guys are wearing jeans and Hawaiian shirts to make the Lotus guys feel more comfortable. So anyways, you're going to need machine tools, processes, space, people. Really, you're going to worry about the packaging more than the shipping, but you may need to worry about in that space, especially if we decide we're going to do assembly, where are you going to put the parts together? Because assembly is a manufacturing process, right? So we may do some assembly. You're going to have to figure out where in the space you're going to put the stuff together, where you're going to do the packaging, maybe where you're going to store it until it ships out to the customers, right? You may have to have some space for inventory, or that warehouse space that you need. Is there anything else we are definitely going to need in order to do this business? Yes. So we're probably going to need some, so we've got machine tools here. We're probably going to need some quality tools. right? That makes sense. We need to, even if we don't have to send like an inspection report or something with the thing to the customer, although I do know companies that are B2C that send inspection reports with their with the products that they sell. For example, the people that make carabiners for rock climbing. You can't afford to have one of them fail. So those typically get 100% inspected before they go out to the consumer. So sometimes you do have that. You had your hand up?
Yeah, so for cost inspection tool, are you talking like specifically like the tool?
It may be as simple as a ruler.
Okay.
It may be as complicated as a CMM or even an atomic force microscope. It depends. We haven't, right? Somebody over here said we needed a product. We haven't chosen the product yet. So we're just getting general categories. The inspection tool that we need is going to depend on the product that we choose. Inspection tools, I think we've got one other item that's missing. Anybody got an idea what that is? Yes.
Group members for the group?
Oh, I'm going to take care of the group members too. I'm taking care of the group members for you. So I'm doing group members. Sales and marketing. And cost or value projections. So that falls under sales and marketing. So revenue projections. I'm going to do those for you. You are gonna pick price points based on my revenue projections, but we'll get to the details of that later in the term. We're going to work on this group project through the entire term. I think on the schedule every other Wednesday we do some feedback. It may be every Wednesday. I can't remember. I put it in the schedule on Wednesdays. We're talking about the group project as we go through, so that we all get some good buy-in in what we're getting. So I think we're missing. So we've got machine tools, and we've got quality inspection tools, but I think we're going to need some hand tools also, right? We might need some wrenches. So like a toolbox full of tools. Anybody know what something like that costs? Toolbox full of tools? I would say anywhere from $300,000 to $30,000. Right. Yeah. Yeah, but exactly. So like if you've ever gone to the mechanics and you see they got these rows of toolboxes in the back of the mechanics place and they all say Snap-on on the front, one of those things full could be $30,000, $60,000. So it seems like, oh, we just go to Home Depot and we need a hammer, right? Well, those Home Depot trips add up. So I think we're going to have some hand tools. And since we haven't been in lab yet, by the way, if you normally have Monday, Wednesday labs, you're going to have lab today. You know that, right? If you normally have Monday, Wednesday labs, we're having lab today. We've got some of the problems fixed. We don't have all of them fixed, but we have a lab planned. And if you have Tuesday, Thursday labs, you're going to have lab on Tuesday. And then we'll all have normal labs after that, except Monday, Wednesday labs don't have lab on Monday next week. Why? Because it's Labor Day. Yep. But by the end of next week, all the lab sections will be back in phase. Yeah. You will not have lab on Thursday because then your lab would be a whole week ahead of the other lab groups. So Tuesday, Thursday labs will not have lab this week. Monday, Wednesday lab will have lab tomorrow so that you make up for missing Labor Day. I would have just done no labs this week at all, and we would have all started on Monday, except there ain't no class Monday. So if we had done labs already, which was in the normal schedule, we would have been in the machine shop already, and we would have been able to say that these machine tools, besides just the machine tools themselves, we need the consumable tooling that goes with them. And so I know a company here in Worcester that spends about $3 million a year on consumable tooling. So consumable tooling is not a small expense. I also know a larger company that makes things that hurl through the air that spends about $3 million a day on consumable tooling. So depending on where your revenues are, you have different consumable tooling. So we should probably include tooling here. Now, some of the things we need, no matter how many parts we ship. Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna throw that in with tooling. So there's coolant that goes in the machine tools. There's the cutting bits that go in the machine tools. There's oils that get changed every now and then. So maybe there's if this was a business class and we were teaching accounting, then we would totally break all that stuff out. We're engineers. All that stuff is one thing. So the maintenance, yeah. And so we can put in a maintenance line here. There is going to be some annual maintenance costs for the machines. One way that people look at that is they sort of build it into the machine tool cost as a cost of ownership kind of a thing. I mean, so typically, especially if we're starting from scratch, when we get these machine tools, it's like buying a car, right? We're going to finance them. We're not going to pay all of it at once, or we're going to lease them, just like leasing a car. You can lease the machine tools. And so when you lease a car, they make you buy insurance. Or you don't have a choice. You have to get insurance, and it has to be like the deluxe insurance because the leasing company wants to get paid if you crash the car. So we're also going to have, so besides maintenance, there's insurance. And there's regulatory. And those regulatory expenses can be super high if you're making stuff like that's used during surgery, right? They can be super high. It's really beyond the scope of what we're talking about in this class. So we should note that they exist, but we're not going to get too detailed about that at this point. I think this sort of covers, now there's some costs that we're going to have no matter how many parts we make, right? So we're going to have machine tool costs, right? So if we buy those machine tools or we lease them, we're going to have to pay for the machine tools whether we make any parts or not. The space, we're going to have to pay for it whether we make any parts or not. The people, there's kind of two ways to go on this, right? You could be like the, I don't want to name any company names, but you could be like the people that only hire part-time temporary employees and don't pay them any benefits. And you could be like the guy that drives by the Home Depot in the morning with his pickup truck to pick up his day laborers, right? Or you could hire people and have, I said we were going to be noble entrepreneurs, right? So that means if we're going to hire somebody, we're going to intend to be committed to them. So we're probably going to have some people expenses, whether we make any parts or not, but we really shouldn't add people we can't afford. So that's sort of a thing there. So raw materials, though, raw materials, tooling, even maintenance to some degree, and packaging definitely. Those things are all going to be dependent on how many pieces we ship. Right? How many parts we make is going to determine what those costs are. So we've got some fixed costs and we've got some variable costs as we go through and design this, right? And so these are the basic things that you're going to have to, so what would be a good way to represent this information? Right, because you have to make a pitch eventually to me to decide if I give you the money. Well, yep.
I'd make a big spreadsheet.
I think we're going to have to use some kind of a spreadsheet to keep track of this kind of stuff, right? Now, I wouldn't have, you've never seen on Shark Tank where they project a big spreadsheet up on the screen, right? So you're going to have to use that spreadsheet to get some key numbers out. And we'll talk about that as we get closer to doing the pitch. But you're going to want to have organized all these things. And then you could have curves, right? You could have projections of if we sell this many at this price, we're going to have this much revenue, we're going to have to hire this many people, so we'll have this many expenses. So you can do some of that stuff. And we'll get more into that later. So everybody have a good handle on what we're doing for our group project? you as your group is going to create a startup business that can make a product. But we need a product, right? So we collectively together now, I could let all of you pick your own product, and that's what I did C-term last year. I'm not going to do that this time. It wasn't, some people like did a really good job. Some people didn't. And that always happens with group projects. But I think it's easier to evaluate your assumptions if we're all making assumptions about the same topics. And so I think we need to narrow it down just a little bit. So I have told you that I'm only accepting pitches for B to C sales. So what are we going to make? Yeah.
I have one that I really want to do, which is, have you ever seen when people like take a wire EVM machine and make like a cube that fits together like perfectly with puzzle pieces?
So we could make, all right. So puzzle pieces. I have seen that.
Aluminum, yeah. But like they're so expensive that it's never practical because it would just be like a one-off. So if you made like a business.
So you guys all know what he's talking about? These elaborate. Were you laughing?
Yeah.
Well, that's stupid. Then why is there two Z's? We don't need two Z's if we do that. I knew there was two Z's, I think. Are there two Z's? Okay. It's if the purpose of language is to convey information. If you knew what I meant, I spelled it right. Puzzles. So we can make puzzles. What other ideas we got? No, not like the kind I had last Thursday. And not the kind that goes on the bagels. Paddle locks. Padlock. I'm just going to put locks. So like master lock kind of thing with lock sets. Okay, locks. Anybody, any other ideas? Yeah.
Stainless steel fans for AC systems. So I'm landlord, and for my tenants recently I repaired the fan of AC systems, and it was rust, and the cost.
So like a ceiling fan or like an exhaust fan for HVAC system. Okay. That's, if we sell them at Home Depot, it could be a B2C thing. It's usually probably a B2B thing, but I could think of, so how about if we extrapolate on that? It could be exhaust fans for bathrooms for DIY. That's similar, right? Bathroom fans. Nobody makes those out of stainless. It's all maybe galvanized. But the pan that goes underneath it, the drain pan. I thought you said fan, but I got it. The drain pan, yeah, the drain pan's rust too. If you ever see dirty ceiling tiles in these rooms, it's usually because of a drain pan under an AC unit that leaked or overflowed or rusted through. I agree. I'm gonna leave bathroom fans here, but I can do drain pans for AC. So you guys all know what we're talking about there? What else? Who's got something good? Yes. Smartwatches. So I like that. I once had a startup idea of like build your own laptop or cell phone or something like that. You had all modular components and people could specify what it was they wanted, exactly what you want it to do. I think that'd take a lot of energy. I don't think I could grade smartwatches well. I mean, I could decide whether or not I liked it, but I don't think I'd be good at grading. But what about accessories? Could be like cell phone accessories or cases or something like that.
Yeah, for sure. I've seen the whole idea of modular tech, like building your
I've actually machined watch cases before. So actually, yeah, all right. So watch, but not the electronics part of the watch.
Yeah.
Like watch. And so, and it doesn't really have to be smart either, right? It just has to be expensive. I actually think I could bring in an example of a watch case that I machined. And it was a startup business. They were in Brooklyn. And their idea was similar to my cell phone idea. I wonder if that's what made it click together. It was, they had these modular watch designs and they had some different options on their website. And you could pick, I want this case and I want this back and I want this, and then they'd assemble it and ship it to you. So we did make some watch cases for them. So that's like or right, if you have an iPhone, you know that the aluminum bit that holds all the stuff inside, do you know that those are billet machined out of solid stock? So they take a piece of solid stock and they machine it, and that the room where they do it has 1,000 Haas CNC machines in it or something like that. And that's how they get the volume through, is just by having a lot of machines. Pretty cool. Watch cases. So any other good ideas? Yes. Appliances that can be controlled by miniature, like a smart mirror. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about because they sell them on Alibaba. Yeah. So, all right. So so the thing that we would make would be like the case for the Raspberry Pi with the holes for the connectors and maybe a thing where you snap in a screen or something like that. Or okay, so microcomputer accessories. That way we're not tied to the Raspberry Pi. We could actually have multiple products, right? We'd have a Raspberry Pi and we could have so microcomputer boxes. I'm going to say boxes, but it's more complicated than just boxes. Yes.
Can we make like educational toys or some kind of STEM toy?
That was the one I've been waiting for. It is. That's why I wrote it next to the puzzle thing. I totally agree that the puzzle thing is kind of like a STEM toy. It's kind of like a fidget spinner or something like that. I spent a summer manufacturing fidget spinners and selling them on Amazon. It was not fun. It's really exciting when you get an order for 368 fidget spinners until you realize they're going to 67 different fulfillment centers. And that means like 2 or 3 in a box, each box. So yeah, the idea of it was fun. And we did make a lot of fidget spinners. But so STEM toys, puzzles, locks. Is there anybody's got a burning desire to make something different? Yes.
I do, but I need to talk with consumer.
I buy stuff all the time.
No,
I buy a lot of stuff, but just ask my wife.
no, my roommate requires like accessibility things.
Oh, so accessibility
But I want to
tools.
talk to the consumers
Yeah.
so I know what they need.
Yeah, okay. But so accessibility. So accessibility gadgets. Okay. I said, well, I guess I didn't say I was going to pick. I said we were going to pick, right? Well, because if I just pick and tell you and you hate the thing, then it's all my fault. But if we decide together and you hate the thing, it's on you, man. I actually hadn't thought that part through yet. In my mind, this part of the lecture was let's decide what we're going to make. Because in besides C-term last year, every previous time I've done this, I have told them what it was going to be, and it was going to be exactly the thing we make in M1800, right? Because we already had some data about that. And so it's the thermoacoustic engine. Who's not seen one of those? So I'll put a link to a video of one somewhere. But if you Google M1800 Stirling engine or thermoacoustic engine, I'm sure you'll find the link yourself too. They're on YouTube's. I totally should have thought this through just a little bit more. I could do a quick Google form.
What if we just like say that if you want STEM toys, you go to one side of the room, and if you want anything else, you go to the other side of the room. And then
You have an
STEM
idea?
toys win.
I like his idea.
STEM toys win.
Yes.
So is this manufacturing warehouse, it's like you finish it, you start the product and you finish it there? Like we're not outsourcing or is everything in?
I would like it to be that you make the pieces. You could have a good argument to me to outsource some of the manufacturing. And so I'm sorry to say, I don't like these two. Not because I think they're bad ideas. It's because they tend to be made out of bent sheet metal. And that's a process we're not going to talk a lot about in this class. So I think that it doesn't really overlap very well with the technologies we're going to be using in lab. And I would like whatever the component we're making to overlap better with that. So I actually think it's a good product idea and you should make them and sell them. But we're not going to do it for the class project. But I think everything else here has a component, depending on what we choose for STEM toy and accessibility gadget, has a component where CNC machining is an appropriate process to make it. Yes?
You could potentially merge like watch case and micro computer box to just be like
Electronics casey things.
And then you can
I like
merge,
that.
Puzzles and STEM toys, so then you have more options. You could just
I actually think you could merge locks, puzzles, and STEM toys because people play with locks as a STEM toy sometimes. I know I have.
that's 3 options, which makes this easier.
Yeah. And I think that it's slightly different, but it could fall right here. I think you could include the accessibility gadgets because it's going to have, no, it's separate. It's its own thing, right? Because it's these, well, the puzzle for it to look good, it's got to have very tight tolerances, right? For the things to fit together and have it really look good, it's going to have really tight tolerances. These have to have really functional tolerances and they have to be rugged because it would suck if it breaks halfway through providing accessibility. STEM toys and puzzles and maybe locks, especially if they get used as a STEM toy, those things. So the reason we stopped making fidget spinners is because Amazon realized that most of the consumers were kids or people giving them to kids. And they changed the requirement for fidget spinner vendors to meet all the ASTM toy safety standards. And we knew that ours would not meet the standards because one of the major components was brass that was 3% lead. Now, we could have changed out that component. We could have swapped it out for a stainless steel. It would have still worked fine. But we weren't making any money selling fidget spinners, so it was not that much fun. After we made the first, dozen and played with them for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And after we figured out how to source really cheap ceramic bearings. So something like that, like if your thing needed a bearing system in it or something like that, bearing rate, yeah, you would source that part. You wouldn't make that part. So I think was that sort of what you were thinking? Yeah. So there's going to be, we're not going to make the screws, right? So if our thing has screws, fasteners that puts it together, we could actually buy a screw machine and manufacture the screws, but that's probably not required at the startup phase. Maybe as we get giant, right, and we're about to be acquired by Amazon, which would be cool. At that point, we may be a little bit more vertically integrated, right? So I work with a business that is actually acquiring CNC machine shops around the country, and at some point when they have enough of them in one region, they want to start buying like the material suppliers in that region, so that they can be a little bit more vertically integrated. And so I think what I'm going to do, so cases over here are things that can contain electronic stuff. Puzzles, toys, locks, and accessibility gadgets. That's 3 categories, right? All right, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you choose from one of those 3 categories and present what it is that you think that you want to make in that category early in the process, so that we as a class can give you some feedback and say, hey, that's a dumb idea, or hey, what a good idea, right? But it'll be constructive feedback, right? Constructive criticism, is that the word? Yeah, so we'll try not to be jerks when we tell you you're dumb. That's what we're going to do. So I said I'm going to pick the teams, right? But I don't have enough data to pick the teams yet. So if we go to, can I do that here? Maybe. If we go to Canvas, go to Canvas. Yes, I have a WPI address. Otherwise, why would I be going to Canvas? And now I have to 2-factor authenticate, even though I'm already logged into the system on this computer. 073 469. Verify. All right, I'm going to stop this share, and I'm going to start the other share. Share screen, Chrome tab, dashboard, share, and make that the only stream, maybe. I'll put it like this. Okay. All right, so I'll make a cool picture so it's easy to identify. I haven't gotten around to it yet, but it's the pink one, right? It's the pink one. If we go to assignments, oh, you can't see. I thought I changed the name. I must have not clicked submit. Well, let's edit this and change the name. Edit. What is this? Week 1? Week 1. Caps lock. Week 1, Wednesday. Week 1, Wednesday. Group project. Now let me click submit. Save and publish. Oh, because I can't have that due. I did click save and publish. It just didn't work. When is this due? Not January. It's due tomorrow night. Right? What's today? Whoa, I got carried away. What's today? It's the 31st. Tomorrow is the 1st. Sweet. Tomorrow night. All right, save. Save. Okay. So your task, which will facilitate me assigning you to a group, is to go take this personality test. Who's done a personality test before? Yeah. You had a question.
I have a question. This one is only one attempt because it does say one.
I'll fix that. No, it said multiple attempts before.
Multiple attempts? No.
It said multiple attempts earlier today, and I don't know. I'll fix it right now, though. I fixed the other one. So take the personality test, and then there's 4 questions about the results of your personality test that will allow me to group you together with people that might make a good group together. I don't actually understand the science about how to select the groups from the thing, but I'm making it up as I go. I've done it before and it works. It's supposed to say multiple attempts.
One idea earlier that I didn't get a chance to, but I saw this company that made like luxury writing implements, and they would charge $300 for a pencil. Like they machine each one individually.
What were they making?
What? Oh, like luxury writing implements. They charge like $300 for a pencil made of metal that's like machined into blade.
I have
Pencil. Yeah, pencil.
I have a $1,200 pen. I don't carry it around in my pocket because I would lose it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a thing.
Hey, the more money you make, the
The more money you spend on it,